Hello, my name is Rachel Vahey and I am a Senior Technical Consultant here at AJ Bell. A few weeks ago, we did a webinar covering the main rules for ISAs. Today, I want to take a closer look at the new kid on the block, lifetime ISAs. I want to explain how they differ from other ISAs, who they're suitable for, and how the special feature of funding house purchase works. So the areas I want to cover are applying and subscribing, really just taking out a lifetime ISA and paying money into it, transferring between different types of ISA, how you can take your money out and when a withdrawal charge will apply and when it won't. And then I want to finish off by looking at the place that lifetime ISAs have within the financial planning arena. Let's start by setting the context and reminding ourselves of the key facts of ISAs. ISAs are a tax wrapper. Contributions or subscriptions are paid out of taxed earnings, but the investment growth is tax-free, and the proceeds from ISAs are normally paid out in full without any tax charge. Now, I say normally because the exception to that is lifetime ISAs, and I'll explain more later on when a tax charge may apply. ISAs have gone from being a simple concept to quite a complicated beast. There are 4 different types of ISA: cash ISAs, stocks and shares, innovative finance, and lifetime ISA. All of this is built up after several different government interventions, all aimed at trying to provide slightly different needs for consumers. At AJ Bell, we've been campaigning for a single ISA product. What we would like to see is all these different types merged into one easy to understand regime, and we think that would help people understand a lot better what they're trying to save. So let's have a closer look at lifetime ISAs. Now, these were introduced in April 2017, and they were introduced by George Osborne's Treasury on the back of a review of pensions tax relief. Now, at the time, there was a lot of rumours swirling around that pensions tax relief was on its way out. And we fully expected that George Osborne was going to stand up and announce that was going to be the case, that we were going to get rid of tax relief for some people, pensions tax relief for some people, or that we're going to move to a single rate. But instead, the Chancellor's big announcement in March 2016 was for a lifetime ISA, a tax-efficient savings account aimed at younger people. It was supposed to be Osborne's big giveaway for millennials. Lifetime ISAs are targeted at the young, and they've got a dual purpose. They want to help people save for a house purchase, but they also want them to save for a later life. To help the younger generations do this, the government give them financial support, and they give them a 25% bonus on the payments that they make to a lifetime ISA. But what the government can give, it can also take away. And if people withdraw their money out of their lifetime ISA, unless it was to do one of these 2 things, to buy a house or because they've reached a certain age, then the government will take away their bonus. Now, that sounds fair enough, but it goes a little bit further. The withdrawal charge not only takes away the bonus, it takes away a little bit extra of their own contributions. Lifetime ISAs, as I said, was introduced in April 2017. But so far, we've only got 2 years' worth of data from HMRC about how successful lifetime ISAs have been. So we've got data for the 2017-18 tax year and the 2018-19 tax year. But comparing these 2 tax years, from one to the other, there was a 45% increase in the number of lifetime allowance accounts. So looking at the latest stats, they are certainly growing in popularity. However, they are falling in the average subscription. So originally that was just over 3,000 in 17-18, but by 18-19 they had fallen to 2,700. The lower subscription level might be because of the payment limit. You can only put so much into a lifetime ISA, which we're going to cover in a minute. But it is interesting to see this average subscription has fallen. So lifetime ISAs are increasing in popularity, but there are only a fraction of people pay into a lifetime ISA compared to the amount who pay into a cash ISA or into a stocks and shares ISA. So they're doing quite well, but they're not ready to take over the world just quite yet. Let's now go on and have a closer look at the rules for setting up a lifetime ISA and for paying money into it. The eligibility rules for lifetime ISAs are different to other ISAs. Lifetime ISAs are targeted firmly at millennials. So someone taking out a lifetime ISA has to be younger than age 40. Now that is 39 years and 364 days. A common mistake is to think someone could take out a lifetime ISA on their 40th birthday. They can't do that. If they waited until their 40th birthday, they would have missed their chance to start up this particular savings plan. However, it's not enough to simply take out a plan. The customer also has to pay into it as well by their 40th birthday. If they merely take out a lifetime ISA, but they don't subscribe, then it won't be valid. And if they pass the 40th birthday, then no further subscriptions will be allowed. People can continue paying into the lifetime ISA until they are 50, but not beyond. And again, this is the day before their 50th birthday. The client has to be resident in the UK unless they're a Crown employee or a spouse of a Crown employee. When they're taking out a plan and when they are paying into the plan. If they move abroad after taking out a lifetime ISA, then they have to stop subscriptions. And they cannot pay into another lifetime ISA in the same tax year. They could pay into different ISA type in the same tax year, so they could pay into a stocks and shares ISA and a lifetime ISA at the same time, but they cannot pay into two lifetime ISAs in the same tax year. Because of the special features of lifetime ISAs, there is a limit on how much somebody can pay in. So the overall ISA savings allowance for 2020-21 tax year is £20,000. This is the amount of money people can pay across all their different ISA types. The amount of money that somebody can pay into a LISA, though, into a lifetime ISA, is £4,000, and they can't exceed that amount. So 20,000 across all ISAs, but only 4,000 or up to 4,000 in the lifetime ISA. So somebody could pay 8,000 into a cash ISA and 8,000 into a stocks and shares ISA, but they can only pay up to 4,000 into their lifetime ISA. Of course, the major attraction of the lifetime ISA is the government adds a bonus to every subscription or payment made. And this is a 25% bonus. If someone paid in the full payment limit of £4,000, then the government would add on another £1,000. And that would make a total of £5,000 that could be saved each year. The bonus is claimed by the ISA manager each month, and then they add it to the lifetime ISA. Let's look at an example. Alysa is 31. She's got a cash ISA and a stocks and shares ISA, but she is now thinking about taking out a lifetime ISA. In this tax year, she's already paid £2,000 into her cash ISA and £15,000 into her stocks and shares ISA, making £17,000 in total. If she wanted to set up a lifetime ISA, the maximum she could pay into it would be £3,000. not the 4,000 payment limit. And that is because her overall ISA allowance is 20,000 and she has already used up 17,000 of it. If she does pay the 3,000 into the lifetime ISA, then she will be able to claim a bonus of 25% of it. That's £750. She doesn't have to do anything. The ISA manager will claim it from the HMRC and then pay it into her lifetime ISA. The ISA manager has to report to HMRC every time somebody pays into a lifetime ISA for the first time, when the account is funded for the first time. Now, this isn't at the end of the tax year like normal reporting for other ISA types, but is part of the monthly reporting on lifetime ISAs. HMRC has to give its approval and validate the account before the bonus can be claimed. So HMRC are going to conduct a number of checks, including age eligibility. For example, are they over 18 and under 40? They're going to look at the personal details, the name, the date of birth, the national insurance number, to check that they match personal tax account records. And they're also going to make a check to see whether the client has paid into another lifetime ISA in the same tax year. If any of these checks fail, then HMRC is going to reject the new lifetime ISA, and the account won't be created. Let's move on and have a look at transfers and how you can transfer your money between different types of ISA and between lifetime ISAs. Lifetime ISAs can accept money and accept transfers in from other ISA types. There's no problem with that. However, any money paid in is going to count towards the current year's payment limit of £4,000, even if it's coming from money that you paid into an ISA type several tax years ago. So transfers can only be of that amount or lower. They are restricted by the investor's remaining lifetime ISA payment allowance. Any payments in, any transfers in, qualify for a 25% government bonus. That's the good news. So if the customer has some odd cash ISAs, which they have started in previous years, but never really continued with, then paying them into a lifetime ISA is a good way of tidying up their financial planning and, of course, of getting a little bit of extra free cash from the government. Care has to be taken when you're looking at transfers with limits and current year subscriptions. Current year subscriptions have to be transferred as a whole from one ISA type to another. Let me give you an example of how this could work. Here we've got a cash ISA. They've only paid in current year subscriptions and they're worth £3,000. The account value at the date of transfer is £3,050. So they've earned a little bit of growth on that. That is then transferred to a lifetime ISA. The overall ISA allowance used is still £3,000. That's still the amount that has been paid in this current year. And the LISA payment allowance, the LISA payment allowance, which has been used up, is £3,050. So that means in this particular situation, the remaining overall ISA allowance is £17,000. 20,000, take away the 3,000 which is being paid this year on the current year subscriptions. And as only £3,050 has been paid into the lifetime ISA, then £950 can be paid in addition to this for this particular tax year to bring you up to the total of £4,000, which is the payment limit for lifetime ISAs. If we have a look at another example, then in this one, the person hasn't paid in any current year subscriptions to their cash ISA, but they have paid in previously and the account value of the data transfer is 7,500. Now remember that they can't transfer that whole amount over to the lifetime ISA because it has a payment limit of 4,000. So in this situation, they have to do a partial transfer. They can take the account value of £4,000 over, and that gets paid into the lifetime ISA. In this situation, none of the ISA allowance for this particular tax year has been used. No current year subscriptions have been paid in. But the payment limit for lifetime ISAs, the lifetime ISA allowance, has been fully used, and 4,000 of it has been used. So the remaining overall ISA allowance is still £20,000. None of it has been used, but no further amounts can be paid into the lifetime ISA. And of course, £3,500 has been left over in the cash ISA because it was a partial transfer over. Just a final example on this. In this example, I've got someone who's got a cash ISA, and again, they've been paying in this year. They've got current year subscriptions of £5,000, but they've got no previous subscriptions. But in this case, they can't do a partial transfer over to the lifetime ISA. The rules on transfers between ISA types say that you have to transfer the current year subscriptions as a whole. You can't partially transfer them. So the whole of the £5,000 would have to be moved. But we've got a payment limit on the lifetime ISA of £4,000. So in this situation, they can't transfer. They would have to wait until next tax year, when that £5,000 would then be counted as previous tax year subscriptions, and then they could partially transfer £4,000 over and leave the remainder in cash ISA. In theory, there should be no problem transferring between lifetime ISAs and no real limits to be aware of. Of course, it's going to be easier to transfer without being in the midst of claiming a bonus from the HMRC. But if someone has paid in a subscription or a payment and they've got an outstanding bonus claim, then that can be submitted by the new ISA manager. And if they transfer before receiving their bonus from the government, then any bonus claims which are in progress have to be forwarded from the old ISA manager to the new ISA manager. But as I said before, it seems to me a lot easier just to have a break within the subscriptions and just make sure you've got all the bonuses in before you transfer them to a different lifetime ISA manager. The withdrawal charge doesn't apply because you're keeping the money within the sphere of a lifetime ISA. And there's no age restriction on the transfer either. So the transfer can be made after the client's 40th birthday, and they can still pay current year payments to the new ISA manager until the day before their 50th birthday. Transfers between lifetime ISAs seems to be an area where we at AJ Bell encounter a few problems as an ISA manager. And I think this is because we sometimes encounter problems asking the seeding party to give us all the information we need to process a transfer completion. And it can be a drawn-out affair getting all that information in from them. If all the information is submitted correctly, then this should not be a problem, and transfers should be easy and simple. Finally, transfers can be made from a lifetime ISA to other ISA types, for example, to a stocks and shares ISA. But in this case, it's going to count as a withdrawal, and a withdrawal charge is going to be made. And the government bonus, at the very least, will be lost. And that really begs the question of why somebody would want to do this in the first place. So talking about withdrawal charges, this seems a nice link to go on and talk about the situations where withdrawal charges will apply and where they won't apply. The lifetime ISA rules, when they were introduced, lay down that there was a charge, and there was a 25% charge on withdrawal, except in 4 occasions. So a lifetime ISA withdrawal charge will not apply where the funds are used to buy a house for the very first time, or when somebody is 60 years or older, or where they are in serious ill health, and a withdrawal charge won't apply when funds are taken out of the lifetime ISA after the investor has died. The 25% withdrawal charge was designed to claim back the government's bonus, but it was to go a little bit further as well. The government wanted to design it to apply an additional charge, and this is designed to discourage people from taking their money out of their lifetime ISAs too early or not for a specific purpose. This additional charge is 6.25% of the client's own contributions, plus any investment growth on it as well. So it's a little nip, it's a small slap to the back of the hand to tell somebody maybe to think twice before withdrawing their money. So let's have a look at an example about how the 25% chargeable withdrawal works in practice. This is Alfie. Alfie has paid £4,000 into his lifetime ISA, and he has received a 25% government bonus of £1,000. After 1 year, his fund is worth £5,200 if we assume it has grown by 4%. If he then takes out his entire fund, he will be charged 25% withdrawal charge. So 25% of 5,200 gives us a charge of 1,300. Alfie receives back 5,200, his lifetime ISA fund, take away the withdrawal charge of 1,300, and he gets back £3,900 in his pocket. That 1,300 claws back the government's bonus of £1,000 plus the growth on the £1,000. But it also claws back part of Alfie's original £4,000 payment. It claws back 6.25% of his £4,000 plus growth. So the government just doesn't take back what it gave in, it also takes back a slice of Alfie's own payment. Now, we've been talking about a 25% withdrawal charge, but the big news is that this has been reduced to 20%, just for the period 6th of March 2020 to the 5th of April 2021. When the COVID-19 outbreak hit, the government brought in several measures to help employees, but also to help savers. And one of the things they did was to reduce the withdrawal charge on lifetime ISAs down from 25% to 20%. However, as I said, this is a buy now while stocks last offer, and it only runs until the end of the tax year. Applying a 20% withdrawal charge means that the government only deducts the value of the bonus it has added. So it only takes back the bonus. It doesn't take back that extra 6.25%. So if somebody withdraws their money early because they really do need the cash in these very difficult times, then they are only losing the government bonus that has been added on. They're not losing any of their own personal contributions. Now, I hope very much that this stays in place, this reduction. When the lifetime ISAs were introduced, I thought it was very unfair to take a slice of people's savings when they take out the money early. And this was because it went really against the whole ethos of ISAs and the way that people think that they work. They think of ISAs as a very simple product that you can put money into and you can take money out of at will, and there was never not going to be an issue. Also, when it was introduced by government, it seemed like such a simple message. 25% bonus on the way in, 25% charge on the way out. Most people, understandably, think that's an equitable situation. It sounds fair, doesn't it? 25% on the way in, 25% on the way out. And of course, it isn't. So this reduction to 20% has just been brought in. To give you an indication of how much people take out of lifetime ISAs, roughly about £3 million was paid in penalties for the first 3 months of 2020. And anecdotal evidence says that the amount of withdrawals from lifetime ISAs over the last few months has slightly increased. This is a cheap measure for the government to do, this reduction, because as we've seen, the lifetime ISA figures are increasing, but really in the big scheme of things, only a few people have taken them out. It's also time bound, and it will only apply for a short contained time. As I said before, this is a temporary measure, and we'll just have to see what happens later on, but I do hope the government keeps to it and that we have a permanent reduction to 20%. So this was announced on the 1st of May 2020, and it applies from the 6th of March 2020 to the end of the tax year. So in this situation, we had to backdate the charge for some cases. Some people had already taken their money out and had already paid the charge. So it was easy enough to change the charge for new cases and new withdrawals, but we needed to backdate it for some people. In this situation, the ISA manager submits a new withdrawal charge to supersede the original one that they put in, and HMRC refunds the previous charge, and that's paid back into the lifetime ISA account. Now, if the lifetime ISA account had been closed by the withdrawal, then it would be paid directly to the investor. When this happened, we had a look at the number of cases at HA Bell where we had people had withdrawn money between the 6th of March and the 1st of May. And I think there was about 54 cases where people had taken money out, but there was only one case where the account had been closed. So most people are just taking a little bit of money out of a partial withdrawal, but not closing the whole account. Let's have a look at how this would work in practice. Megan wants to withdraw £1,000 from her lifetime ISA on the 16th of March 2020. So to do this, to end up with £1,000 in her back pocket, she needs to make a total withdrawal of £1,333.33. So the withdrawal charge of £333 is paid to HMRC. Then the announcement is made, and we have to take corrective action for Megan. The correct withdrawal charge is now £250. So the lifetime ISA provider will correct the original withdrawal charge, and Megan's lifetime ISA will be credited with the difference. So she will get back £83.33. So moving on and having a look at the situations where the withdrawal charges don't apply, two of these are ill health and death withdrawals. Let's look at ill health first. The serious ill health rules for lifetime ISAs are similar to those that exist for pensions, in that the ISA manager needs to be given written evidence from a medical practitioner that the investor has less than 12 months to live. If the lifetime ISA manager gets this information in, then there won't be a charge on any subsequent withdrawals. They will be charge free. The lifetime ISA also remains open, so if the person really wanted to, they could make a further payment and receive a government bonus on it. And as you would expect, on death, there is no withdrawal charge. The lifetime ISA stays open. Any outstanding bonuses can be claimed. And on death, the spouse or civil partner will inherit an additional ISA allowance. Now, this applies across all different types of ISAs, and lifetime ISA is no different. This additional ISA allowance is called an APS, an additional permitted subscription. And the spouse or civil partner can claim this so that they have it on top of their own £20,000 ISA allowance. The APS can be paid into the lifetime ISA if they want, but it's going to count towards the spouse's own £4,000 payment limit. So it really just depends how much the APS is worth. And the APS could come from a lifetime ISA, or it could come from, say, a cash ISA or a stocks and shares ISA. If somebody did that, then overall the ISA allowance can be increased. So if a spouse or civil partner claimed the APS and applied it to a lifetime ISA, then that overall ISA limit will be increased. But the payment limit to a lifetime ISA remains the same. It cannot go higher than £4,000. Let's go on and have a look at the property now. The residential property has to be in the UK. So you can't use a lifetime ISA fund to help buy overseas property. And it has to be worth £450,000 or less. And that limit applies for all parts of the UK. There's no differential for those properties that are in London. It has to be a residential home, and it has to be the place where the investor will live. It must always be the customer's intention to occupy the property once it's purchased, as their only or their main residence. We had one question, whether it's possible to use a lifetime ISA to fund the purchase of an artist studio. And the answer is yes, as long as that was where the person was living and it was suitable for this purpose. As it's got to be the place where the customer intends to live, it cannot be a buy-to-let property. The rules allow the money to be used to buy land for a self-build property, so the residential property doesn't actually have to exist when the withdrawal from the lifetime ISA takes place. The property has to include a legal interest in land. So the lifetime ISA withdrawal could not fund the purchase of, say, a houseboat. And finally, the property must be bought with a loan taken as charge over the property, for example, a mortgage. There are a few rules around how the withdrawal can be made. Now, we've had a few queries about whether you can make two charge-free withdrawals, two or more charge-free withdrawals for the same property. Now, in practice, the reason why we've had these queries is because somebody has had an outstanding bonus from the government. So they've paid some money in, they're waiting for the government bonus to fall into the lifetime ISA account. But in the meantime, they want to get the bulk of the funds over to the conveyancer as soon as possible. So they make the first charge-free withdrawal. But then they've asked when the bonus gets credited to the lifetime ISA account, can they then make a second withdrawal for that bonus if they haven't bought the property by that point? And the answer is yes, you can do that. You can make as many withdrawals as you want. The rules are that you've got to complete the property purchase within 90 days of the charge-free withdrawal. So the conveyancer can take the money and then hold on to the funds for that period of time. The lifetime ISA doesn't have to close on withdrawal. Partial withdrawals are allowed. You don't have to take out the whole of the lifetime ISA funds. And similarly, nil balances are also allowed. So somebody could use the lifetime ISA funds to help fund a house purchase, but then reduce it to nil, but keep it going then later on to fund later life income. The funds withdrawn from the lifetime ISA have to be paid to the conveyancer direct. We can't pay it to the investor. We can't put it into Mr. Smith's bank account. And it has to be the amount that has been agreed under the sale and purchase agreement. Each investor has to sign a declaration. So they've got to give details of themselves, the lifetime ISA, and the property. Once we've received this declaration and it's valid and we're happy it's valid, then we've got 30 days to make the payment to the conveyancer for the funds requested. In practice, it's not up to the lifetime ISA manager to make the decision on whether the individual or the property has met the requirements and the rules that we've just gone through. It's up to the investor and the conveyancer to ensure they are complying with the requirements for a charge-free withdrawal. And they have to make that declaration to that effect. They have to sign something to say, yes, these are the details, and yes, I think we are, or yes, we are ensuring that we comply with the rules and the regulations. As an ISA manager, we aren't required to take any additional steps to verify that the information we've been given in the declaration is correct. So we don't have to check up on it or do any further research. It's only if we've got reason to believe that the information given is untrue or incorrect, and it's only if we've got a flag of something coming through like that, that we should prevent a charge-free withdrawal. Otherwise, as I said, the ball is in the court of the investor and the conveyancer to ensure they are complying with the requirements. Now, unfortunately, sometimes house purchases don't go through very smoothly and they could fail. And this isn't an unusual occurrence. So I really wanted to cover what happens if the house purchase fails. If it fails or it doesn't complete within 90 days after the lifetime ISA withdrawal, then the conveyancer must return the full amount to the lifetime ISA manager. So they've got to give back the full amount of the withdrawal. Now, in some situations, they may not be able to give back the full amount. There might be a shortfall. And if that's the situation, they've got to give any explanation of why there is a shortfall. Once the ISA manager has got it back, then they've got to repay it back into the lifetime ISA account. They could apply the withdrawal. If there is a shortfall, then they've got to apply a withdrawal charge to the shortfall and make sure that amount is then sent on to HMRC. At the opposite end of the spectrum, if there's any interest which has been earned in that 90-day period, then that can be returned direct to the investor. It doesn't have to go back to the lifetime ISA account. If the lifetime ISA account was closed as part of the withdrawal, then the investor can open up a new account. Now, they can do that even if they've made payments to another lifetime ISA in the same tax year, or even if they're not UK resident. And if in the meantime, in that 90-day period, somebody has transferred their lifetime ISA from one manager to another, then once the withdrawal money is refunded back to the original lifetime ISA manager, they've then got to pass it on to the new lifetime ISA manager. So I wanted to finish this webinar by having a look at financial planning and the position that lifetime ISAs play within this spectrum. When the lifetime ISA was first launched, there was many people who were worried about how it would compare against a pension and whether people who wanted to invest in a lifetime ISA would stop contributing to their pension instead. So let's take a comparison and have a look at comparing the two products side by side. For availability, the lifetime ISA, well, you can take one out if you're over 18. And remember, you've just got to be under 40 to take one out, and you can only contribute to it until you are 50 years old. For a pension, in theory, you don't have to be, there's no minimum age. You can have a junior pension or junior SIP from any age. And again, theoretically, there's no maximum age either. You can carry on contributing. However, there's no tax relief on contributions over the age of 75. And many pension schemes won't let people who are over age 75 contribute to a pension. Payments in, well, for a lifetime ISA, there is a maximum of £4,000 a year, and that's part of the overall ISA allowance of £20,000. If you look at that over the lifetime, then it's a £128,000 limit. For pensions, the annual allowance is £40,000 a year. Of course, it's tapered if the earnings are over 240,000. And again, there is a lifetime limit on a pension, and this is £1,073,100. So there's a lot more room within a pension to pay in a lot more money, up to a much higher lifetime limit. The government top-up, well, under a lifetime ISA, you get a bonus from the government on every subscription paid in, and that's 25%. And that's on all payments made before the age of 50. For pensions, you get tax relief at your marginal rate. So the amount of tax relief you get depends on what sort of taxpayer you are, basic, additional, or basic, higher rate, or additional. And that's on all payments made before the age of 75. If you're comparing these two government top-ups, then for a basic rate payer, they are the same. But obviously, if you are a higher rate payer or an additional rate payer, you get a lot more tax relief. For both of these tax wrappers, investment growth is tax-free. And when you're looking at withdrawals and how these are taxed, well, withdrawals from a lifetime ISA after the age of 60 have no charges. They are tax-free and there's no withdrawal charges. For pensions, you've got to wait until age 55 until you can take the money out. And at that point, 25% of it is tax-free, but the rest is taxed as income. Flexibility, well, for a lifetime ISA, you can take out the money at any point. Yes, there may be a charge, and as we've examined earlier in the webinar, part of your money may be taken away as well as the government bonus, but you can get hold of your money at any point. With a pension, you cannot get hold of it before the age of 55, so they're a lot less flexible and your money is tied up for a lot longer period. And for employer contributions, well, these aren't possible into a lifetime ISA, but with a pension, they are possible and they're expected as well as part of automatic enrolment. Employer contributions are a very valuable part of saving for later life income, and especially when you add on the ability for salary sacrifice and the additional benefits that can bring. To help us compare the two, I've just prepared a very rough and ready comparison between how much money you could receive from either of these savings vehicles. Now, this is for somebody who started saving at age 30 and went up to state pension age of 68. And they're putting in £4,000 a year. They're getting 4% net growth. The payments to the lifetime ISA will stop after the age of 50, but for the pension, it's for the full 30 to 68 period. The lifetime ISA, your fund at age 68 is £336,970, and this is the total of what you get back. If the person is over 60, there's no withdrawal charge. They get the full amount of the lifetime ISA back. Pensions, basic rate tax relief, you're getting in the same government top-up, but you're funding it for a longer period, so you end up with a bigger fund. But only 25% of it is tax-free. The rest you have to pay is taxed as income. So you end up with roughly about 400,000. The big difference is when you're looking at pensions higher rate tax relief, and you can see that you end up with a much bigger fund and somebody who's paying into a higher rate taxpayer, and that's the power of pensions for them and the benefits that they receive. But the sweet spot is when you look at somebody who is a higher rate taxpayer in accumulation, but is a basic rate taxpayer when they get to retiring. And you can see there that they end up with a much bigger fund. Now, when lifetime ISAs were introduced, the FCA was worried that some people might just ditch their pension and their very valuable employer contribution and decide just to take out a lifetime ISA instead. So they put in a number of factors to help protect and a lot of information that the ISA managers got to give to the investor just to make sure that they understand the rules and what they're getting themselves into. So that's saving for later life income. The other reason you might want to use a lifetime ISA, and probably the main reason most people use a lifetime ISA, is to fund a house purchase. So there falls a natural comparison with the Help to Buy ISA. The Help to Buy ISA is a form of cash ISA. However, it's now been in force for a few years, but no new accounts have been allowed to be set up since November 2019, since last November. However, if someone has already got one, they can continue paying into it until 2029. And they can pay in £200 a month. So if you compare it with a lifetime ISA, and you compare the two, well, under a lifetime ISA, it's a much higher payment limit. You can pay in £4,000, so it's much more flexibility and scope. The government bonus under a lifetime ISA is probably more generous, and that's because you get the bonus with every contribution, with every payment made. With a Help to Buy ISA, you only get the bonus once you actually do the fund purchase. Whereas with a lifetime ISA, you get the government bonus, every month you're able to invest it and to benefit from that compound interest. You get to keep the leftover savings under a lifetime ISA. If you don't need the whole amount to help fund your house purchase, then if you've got anything left over, you can use that to help fund your retirement. And there's a higher property purchase price under the lifetime ISA. It goes up to 450,000, as we said before, whereas with a Help to Buy ISA, it's capped at 250,000 for the majority of the UK, and it's higher in London. And the investment is different under a lifetime ISA. You can have a cash lifetime ISA or a stocks and shares lifetime ISA, but a Help to Buy, as I said before, is just a cash ISA. So if you have both of these tax wrappers, you may want to consolidate them and put all your eggs in one basket. If you're going to transfer them, if you're going to transfer from a Help to Buy ISA to a lifetime ISA, then that's going to count towards the lifetime ISA payment limit. So you need to be aware of that £4,000 limit. But the good news is that you will get a government bonus. If you're to do it the other way round, and you're to move from a lifetime ISA to a Help to Buy ISA, then a withdrawal charge will apply. Let's move on and have a look at junior ISAs. Now, when somebody gets to age 18 with a junior ISA, then this is going to convert into an adult ISA. And at that point, they've got a range of choices. They can take the money if they want and just take it all out and spend it on holidays and clubbing and fast cars and whatever they might want to do at age 18. They could continue with the adult ISA, whether it's a cash ISA or a stocks and shares ISA, or they could pay the money into a lifetime ISA. And if they do that, then they can receive a government bonus. And I think that sounds a good option for somebody who gets to age 18 with a junior ISA, with an account and an amount to look at. Then you might as well get your 25% top up from the government. It could be that the amount that they've got in the junior ISA far exceeds £4,000, which is the lifetime ISA limit for one particular tax year. But they could do the transfer over several years and just do that almost like a drip feed, partial transfer over from a junior ISA to a lifetime ISA. And that way they can fully benefit from the tax advantages that lifetime ISAs offer. One last word on this is child trust funds start maturing in September 2020. Now, you might remember these were set up in September 2002. And it was a social experiment of sorts. The government gave a bonus to every child born and said, this is your money, you go and you have to go and save it in a child trust fund. And some children got additional payments after that point as well, which they could invest. But the first ones of these, the children are now reaching 18 in September, and they will have to make decisions about what they want to do with that money. And again, it's the same as the junior ISAs. They can take the money, they can keep it because it will convert into an ISA, so they can keep it as an ISA. But it seems a very neat idea just to roll it over into a lifetime ISA and get that extra 25%. So I hope you found today interesting and useful. We've looked at how you set up a lifetime ISA and what the payment limits are and what the overall limits are. We've looked at how you can transfer between different ISA types. We've looked at the rules for withdrawals, where a withdrawal charge is going to apply, but also about the rules for house purchase and what requirements the investor has to meet. And then we've looked at financial planning and lifetime ISA's position within financial planning. They got this dual purpose of house purchase and funding for later life. But I think it's the house purchase that really inspires most people to take out a lifetime ISA. They're not massively successful, but they're not unsuccessful either. They have a position and a place within financial planning for a very particular purpose. But the 25% bonus is very appealing, and it will make sense for a lot of younger people under the age of 40, to consider paying money into a lifetime ISA on that basis. So I hope you've enjoyed today. If you do have any questions, then please get in touch and stay healthy. Thank you very much.